4-yard line. Hand off to Amani Cross. Pushes up the right side. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Armstrong beats it to Westerkamp. Breaks a tackle. That's a Husker touchdown.
Armstrong. Deep over the middle, throws it up for grabs, and it's intercepted. He had no chance of hitting anybody wearing a white jersey. He just tossed it down the middle.
Oh, here we go. Oh, this is my very own horseshoe, just like they have in Memorial Stadium for the Tunnel Walk. I've been a Husker all my life. When you grow up in Nebraska, you live and breathe Husker football. And for over 40 years, they made it easy to be a Husker fan, winning numerous conference and national championships. After earning my bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from the University of Nebraska, I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to cover them from a media perspective, following them everywhere they went for 6 seasons.
Husker Nation has come to Cowboy Stadium in full force.
So I've been immersed in Husker football for 35 years and have a pretty good idea of what Husker fans and Husker fandom is really like. The only thing that matches the amount of love Husker fans have for their team is their expectation for the team to win. That's nothing new. That has always been there. But what has changed recently and troubles me is how much Husker fans vocalize those expectations, especially when those expectations aren't met on social media. The boo birds are making themselves heard right now on Twitter after that one. But it's one thing to argue a ref's call, question a coach's decision, or complain about the quarterback throwing an interception when you're 50 rows up and the athletes and coaches on the field will never hear it. It's an entirely different matter to hurl insults, criticisms, and even physical threats to these same people in a way that will greet them as soon as they pick up their cell phones after a game. Research shows that the more passionate fan bases are also the more active fans on social media, especially in terms of interacting with student athletes. And Nebraska fans are the epitome of passionate. 90,000 fans fill Memorial Stadium on Saturdays every fall, and each one enters the stadium under this sign, which hangs over every single entrance. Through these gates, past the greatest fans in college football.
It holds up there. Rogers takes the ball at the 30. He's hit and got away. Back upfield to the 35, to the 40. He's to the 45. He's to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 20, to the 10. He's all the way home. Holy moly. Man, woman, and child did that. Put them in the aisles. Johnny the Jet Rogers just tore them loose from their shoes.
How does Husker football specifically fit into the landscape of this state?
I think it's everything. I think that's what defines this state.
It's absolutely everything, and people can't really understand that.
I think Nebraska football means to me hard work, which I'm fond of, friendships.
Nebraska football has enjoyed a tradition of excellence for more than 5 decades. The Huskers are currently third in all-time victories with 889, behind only Michigan and Texas. Of those 889 wins, 356 came during a 36-year stretch of dominance from 1962 to 1997. Nebraska won 5 national titles during that time span, 2 with Bob Devaney in 1970 and 1971, and 3 under Tom Osborne in 1994, 1995, and 1997, combining to win over 80% of their games. The 1995 Nebraska team is still considered by many, especially in the state of Nebraska, as the greatest college football team of all time. The 95 Huskers went a perfect 11-0, winning by an average of 39 points per game, including the complete demolition of number 2 Florida in the Fiesta Bowl to secure the national title.
Right, Tommy on the keep, turns the corner, 25-30, eludes a tackler, 35, Tommy Frazier, 37, 38, 39, 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, he's gonna go! Holy cow! Touchdown, Tommy Frazier!
And let's not forget the 3 Heisman Trophy winners, 110 first-team All-Americans, countless other individual national awards, and a long list of Huskers that went on to play in the NFL. Essentially, this program has been very, very good for a very long time.
Third down. Frost to the middle. Juggle. Diving touchdown, Nebraska. Davison on the deflection. Nebraska's a point away.
With history like this, it's no wonder Husker fans are so passionate about their team.
Nebraska football, especially in the mid-90s when they were winning national championships, I still remember Nebraska football being that dominant. 20 years later, the landscape has totally changed. Nebraska, not so relevant on a national scale. They haven't won a conference championship since 1999.
Which brings us to the situation today. That winning tradition has taken a slight dip since their last national title in 1997. The Huskers haven't won a championship of any kind since defeating Texas for the 1999 Big 12 championship. And it's not just a drought in winning titles. There's been a significant dip in simply winning compared to the glory years that spoiled Husker fans. Since 2002, Nebraska has won only 64% of their games and experienced 3 losing seasons in 2004, 2007, and 2015. That may not sound too bad, but remember, the last time Nebraska had a losing season prior to this stretch, 1961. It's been a difficult fall from elite status for many Husker fans to process.
Being a sports fan, I think every program has their droughts, some longer than others. And maybe our drought is a little bit longer than what the fans would like. I know they're working hard. They're all striving for a goal, and I think no one is more disappointed than the players to lose.
It is hard to be a fan because we haven't won a championship since '99. But at the same time, I take a lot of pride in my fandom. And watching them lose lose like that, and just saying, swallowing your pride and just still being a fan. You know, people have Nebraska football, and that's all we have. So I mean, regardless of how they play, and regardless of how many more years it is till they win a championship, I think it'll stay the same.
You can say this about Husker fans: they sure are loyal. It's a trait that many would say runs in their blood.
Born and raised in Nebraska. I grew up watching Nebraska football games. It's just what we did. My family would gather on Christmas around the bowl games. That's just what we would do. The Nebraska brand was something that I was just born with, taught from a very, very early age. And I think it's really reflective of who we are as people in Nebraska. Blue collar, hardworking, but still very competitive, very proud of where we come from.
Being a Nebraskan, they stick together, they have a lot of pride, and that shows especially when it comes to Nebraska football. Husker fans bleed red through and through throughout this entire state. Nebraska football and Nebraska athletics in general is just the way of life around here. Saturdays in the fall at Memorial Stadium, obviously it's the 3rd largest, if you want to call it, city in the state of Nebraska. On game days, there's 90+ thousand that are going to fill that stadium each and every Saturday in the fall. They're very passionate about Nebraska athletics and Nebraska football.
It's in your blood, and you take so much pride in being from Nebraska. And explaining why I'm such a big fan to people is hard to understand for some people. But I mean, I think growing up, and my dad was a huge Husker fan. I guess that's kind of how I got into it as well. I just remember watching the games on Saturday with him, and you know, at the time what he was experiencing in the national championships, you know, 94, 95, I was like, you know, I grew up just expecting them to win every Saturday. That's just how it was. Nebraska won every single day, and we cheered and we yelled, and it was great.
Being around other people that are fans kind of drag you into it. Seeing the excitement of the people and the love they have for their players really encourages you to become a fan yourself. You just kind of get in tune with the culture and look forward to Saturdays with 90,000 of your best friends.
There are a wide variety of reasons why people become fans of a particular team. Researchers point to the socialization process, including the family we are born into having a dramatic impact on our fandom. Some of us might identify with a particular player and therefore become a fan of the team. Or we jump on the bandwagon of a good team in order to be associated with a winner. All of these processes produce a powerful internal drive that connects ourselves to that team, taking their successes and failures and making them our own.
Social identity theory basically says that as individuals, we derive a certain amount of our identity from our group association, and conversely by not being associated with someone. So if you think of sports, that's just an ideal setting for that, because if you're a fan of this team, then by consequence you dislike the rival team, right? And so you look at ways of saying how you're better than them. That emotion really drives those kind of responses.
In terms of social identity in sport, many fans view their favorite team as an extension of their self-identity. In a 1974 study examining college students' apparel after sporting events, Robert Cialdini and his co-authors described the two prominent ways in which people express team identification: basking in reflected glory, or burging, and cutting off reflected failure, or corfing.
You know, if our team wins, we're going to wear our colors. We're going to, really show everyone that we're associated with that winner. And then by contrast, corfing or cutting off reflected failure, meaning that if the team loses, we don't want to be associated with them. So for instance, if I'm a Clemson fan and they lose, I don't wear my Clemson gear the next day because I don't want to be seen as, associated with a losing entity. Whereas if they win, I'll be wearing my gear and be very vocal and that sort of thing. So it kind of arose from psychology and sociology in the 70s and early 80s.
These exhibitions of team identification have only seemed to increase in the digital age.
We control that much more. I mean, clearly we can decide whether we're going to wear colors or not and that sort of thing, but it's just made it much more pronounced in the sense that we can demonstrate that to a much wider audience. You know, if we want to cut off reflected failure, we can pinpoint who we want to cut off, and we can then message them and say so. You know, if you're a Red Sox fan, you can go to a Yankees message board, or you can go find Yankee fans on Twitter. You can use hashtags to get in these conversations, and so it's just really opened up the floodgates, really, for us as individuals or fans to be able to reach out to various groups or audiences to communicate that identity.
And reach out they do, especially on Twitter, the #1 social media platform for athletes, teams, and leagues.
Being able to share my thoughts, I mean, some of the games I'm on Twitter throughout the game, and I'm sharing my thoughts on how the game's unfolding. I'm doing that, and I kind of like that aspect too, because it's live. I mean, a big play happens, and boom, your whole Twitter feed is touchdown, Tommy, and all this stuff. And it's really cool to see that.
Twitter has become one of the primary avenues in which fans are able to participate in a multiple screen experience with sports, getting live behind-the-scenes Twitter updates from their phones while simultaneously watching a game on TV. It also provides a unique window for fans to peek into the lives of their favorite players.
Now that I'm older and an adult, watching kids grow, both on the playing field and even within social media, just seeing how their opinions form and take shape and become the people they are today. And I think you get a chance with Nebraska football to view that.
Twitter has also shrunk the sports world, allowing fans from all over the world to connect digitally.
I think what social media has done is it's allowed you to find people who share that interest much easier. So if you're let's say you're a Cowboys fan, but you live in the Northeast, you can use social media to find Cowboys fans in that area or people close to you who share that same connection.
It can even form friendships between fans that otherwise would have been impossible.
I had zero experience with Twitter doing this. I followed all the players, and then after that I started going into anyone that had the word Nebraska football in it, Husker in it. I followed all those people. Now there's a group of 5 to 10 followers on there. I've never met them in my life before. They're all very similar to me. There's a dedicated DM that I have with 4 or 5 Husker guys that I talk to on a daily basis. We're in messages talking on a daily basis about recruiting, about this guy, about that guy. I sit back some days and I'm just like, Man, I talk to these guys every single day. I don't talk to some of my close family members every single day.
I am actually meeting a Twitter friend here today to see the game. And I'm looking forward to it because a lot of my friends aren't necessarily Husker fans. So it'll be nice to maybe meet someone that I can go to future games with.
Twitter goes beyond simply opening windows for fans to watch athletes. Now, engaging in a conversation with athletes takes only 140 characters and a little bit of luck.
Prior to social media, how did you access an athlete? Well, there were chance encounters at games, but you really didn't have much access to them. You could write letters to them, but there was no guarantee you were going to get a response. But I think what social media has done is it's changed it, because there's athletes who literally will get out their phone and, if you say the right thing, they'll respond back to you, or they might retweet you or favorite your tweet or whatever. And in fact, there's been some really great examples where fans and athletes have come together through social media, interactions.
Researchers have considered this digital relationship a form of parasocial interaction in which the fan can have a false sense of connection or relationship with the athlete.
Do you know how many times you put a player in your mentions last season? I'd love to hear your guess.
I think it'd probably be pretty frequent. I'm going to go 150. Is that close?
You guess high, 129.
Really?
129.
Is that good or bad?
Not near as high as some. So I think you're right there in the middle.
Regardless of how real the relationship is, it can have a positive impact on both the fan and athlete.
I think it's just trying to be a part of the conversation. Some of it's intentional, like positive support. I think that a student athlete can maybe feel isolated at times, and I just like to use Twitter as a support tool.
I don't really expect a response. There's a couple guys that on the team that I know that like to interact with the fans a little bit more than others. It's just to boost their confidence, let them know we're behind them. We got everyone following them, and through thick and thin, we're there.
Your phone goes off, maybe you get on there and you see a notification and it's a player either responded or retweeted. I mean, what goes on? Like, is there like a kind of a rush for you with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's cool because, they obviously saw something that I was meant to be towards them.
But not all fans are like Chris and Laurel. Some fans utilize social media and the anonymity it offers to tap into a dark side of their inner self, manifested in hateful, extremely negative communication toward athletes and fans, an action that researchers have labeled maladaptive parasocial interaction. This type of negative interaction crosses all boundaries of sport and gender. No athlete is safe from the wrath of an upset fan on social media. Numerous incidents involving both college and high school athletes have made national headlines, but one particular case in a high-profile college football game in 2013 was so extreme, it became the seminal study for social media researcher and scholar Jimmy Sanderson.
The Alabama-Auburn rivalry is considered probably the most intense in all of college football. In fact, there's been some books written about it where it talks about how fans just can't wait for the coin toss. It's that, that kind of intensity.
For the first time ever, Alabama plays Auburn in a winner-take-all showdown. And to the victor go the spoils. A trip to the SEC championship game and the possibility of so much more. This is the 78th Iron Bowl.
One of two this season. Foster, here's his first attempt tonight.
That was on the opening drive.
Yep. Here's his second. That was after a penalty. He had made one that hooked it from 33. And this one, you said before we saw the replay that you thought it might have been blocked in the line.
I didn't think he got enough height on it.
Griffith, a redshirt freshman from Calhoun, Georgia. This is the third field goal he's attempted in his career, 57 yards.
Remember, a blocked kick can go the other way, too. He's got to be careful and get it up.
Alabama fans have kind of been somewhat, spoiled by expecting the national championship to be kind of the standard there. So we looked at Kate Foster's Twitter mentions in the 24-hour period from the kickoff to the 24-hour period after kickoff, and it was about 12,300 mentions in 24 hours. So you imagine your phone going, which I'm sure he shut it off at some point, but people just started tweeting these very hateful things at Kate Foster. Things like, I hope your family dies, I hope you die, sexual assault references. That was kind of alarming, but what was interesting is that we also saw a lot of fans were tweeting things like, we don't condone this, we don't feel it's appropriate, and you're not really an Alabama fan if you're sending these kind of messages, and we support Kate Foster. So it really was this moment for the fan base to kind of decide, like, what is the appropriate response, or what is the appropriate kind of reaction, for our fan base. And in this case, people, I think, didn't want to be associated with those who were saying those hateful things. For many people, there's no fear of consequence. They can say whatever they want because they feel like nothing's going to happen to them. They're not having to say it to the person's face. So they'll say things to these athletes that they would never ever say to them face to face. But because the keyboard or the screen kind of acts as an illusion that, well, gosh, I can say whatever I want because no one's gonna, who's gonna hold me accountable.
Heading into the 2016 season, the Huskers had not experienced a negative social media reaction as intense as this one was, but they are not immune to the backlash of an upset fan base with itchy trigger fingers.
These guys, if they lose a game, to the fans, it almost means more to the fans than it does to the players. And if they make a mistake, Tommy Armstrong might throw 3 interceptions one game and they lose. Okay, well, it's one game. Those kids are going to move on. The fans, for them to sit there on a Saturday night, drinking a beer and eating potato chips on their couch in their basement, talking smack to, again, 20, 21, 22-year-olds, to me, just isn't right.
While some schools and athletic programs have opted for banning their players from using social media during their respective seasons, the Nebraska Athletic Department attempts to teach their student athletes about the good and bad of social media, managed by the experts in their creative and emerging media department.
One of the first things I tell our players is you really don't know who that person is in your mentions. Just because they're wearing a Nebraska shirt doesn't mean that they're a Nebraska fan. Because there is nothing stopping an Iowa fan or a Minnesota fan or a Wisconsin fan from creating a fake account just to try to get under players' skins. For so long, the printed word has seemed like that's the gospel truth. And so to unlearn that takes a lot of effort. It's psychological gamesmanship, which has been going on forever. It's just the new way to do it. The stuff that show up in players' mentions, that's been being said for decades. It's just now, because of social media, it can go from being up in section 91 to being right in front of their face.
Some Husker fans even take it upon themselves to self-police other so-called Nebraska fans when things start to get heated in the Twitter sphere.
There's 3 or 4 the people on there that I know kind of have the reputation for being like that, and it's just not a good look. You want to tell that Iowa fan off, but it's not going to get anywhere, and it's only going to fuel their fire, and it's going to make you look bad. And it reflects me as well as a Husker fan. I mean, I would say I'm as passionate as any Husker fan you're going to find as far as wanting them to win and succeed.
The 2016 college football season would significantly test Husker fans on how they communicated with players on Twitter. Featuring incredible victories, confidence-shaking losses, fan-dividing issues of social justice, and horrifying moments of injury, this season would elicit every ounce of team identification the Husker fanbase had to offer. And it all started over a month before the season would even kick off, with news that would stun Husker Nation to its very core.
Tragic breaking news tonight.
Nebraska football is mourning the loss of a standout player. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Cousins.
And I'm Rod Fowler. Nebraska football punter Sam Foltz died in a car crash late last night.
How happened in Wisconsin, west of Milwaukee. Foltz was coaching there at a football camp. He was riding in a car with former Michigan State punter Michael Sadler and current Louisiana State punter Colby De La Houssie.
The sheriff says that Sadler, who was driving, lost control on wet pavement and hit a tree. He and Foltz died at the scene. De La Houssie was taken to the hospital. Now, investigators say they are trying to determine whether speed was a factor.
Sam Foltz, a guy that is well respected in the locker room and around the state, both on and off the field, a true leader, lost today.
We were on our way to Chicago, Big Ten Media Days. We were driving through Iowa, received a phone call from Kelsey, one of our reporters, said Sam Foltz has died. And then I started checking social media, and the players were starting to tweet, RIP 27, we lost a great one, just going through tweets. I saw a lot of positive support for Sam Foltz, and both from fans, current teammates / players, broadcasters from around the country. Nebraska football and the state lost one of its own, and that's the way they've approached it and they've treated it. Anytime you have a tragedy like this, it kind of brings everybody closer together.
Fans were surprised and saddened, and Nebraska has always taken great pride in our homegrown football players, and especially those that can compete and excel at an elite level. And Sam, he was definitely, top of the class in that position, and Nebraska would be very proud of him. Nebraska fans definitely reach out to players when they can tell that they're down. Definitely in game situations, post-game situations, they'll do that, but even more so on, with personal tragedies. We had a lot of players that were very deeply affected by the tragedy, because you make such close friends with those players in your time here. It really becomes a brotherhood. It's really an extended family. And they took to social media to not just honor Sam and talk about how much they loved him and how much they were going to miss him, but I do think that they did like seeing a little bit of that support back from fans. And I know fans like to be able to give that support to the players as well. Just let them know that they're there for them. Drew Brown was in Wisconsin with Sam when it happened, and he obviously had to return back to Nebraska, and he even had to transport a lot of Sam's clothes and his backpack and all that stuff back with him too. But he was never really alone because of social media. He could talk about it on social media, and fans and other players and staff members could be there for him and help him out that way, which is just a really cool aspect of connecting people.
As the news of Sam's death spread through the athletic department and fan base, players and fans gathered in front of Memorial Stadium to honor and remember their friend and teammate.
Oh, brother, he gone. And we can get another punter, and it won't matter.
He was always a leader. He was always the pep talker. He was leading the drills. And, it's crazy. I mean, one of our best leaders on the team and player, our punter, and that's just the type of guy Sam was.
This is why we're all here, because he impacted every single one of our lives. There's going to be a hole on our team now. There's not going to be filled because people like Foltz don't come around often.
It seemed like a sense of togetherness between the families, the fans and the players. Players were leading prayers, but you could just really tell that this hit home.
Pain is a universal experience, and moments of severe, heartbreaking tragedy have a way of bringing people together. Keeping Sam Foltz's memory alive was an initiative taken up by the fans and team alike, and would be one of the driving narratives throughout the season, beginning with a poignant and impactful gesture during the season opener against Fresno State.
It's game day in Nebraska. That means everyone lands in Lincoln, where they've been sold out since 1962. Tonight, the Fresno State Bulldogs have a primetime showdown with the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Once we kind of got through that initial phase of just helping process the grief side of it and helping the players process the grief side of it, then it became more about, okay, how do we really honor his legacy? And obviously those discussions are way bigger than just social media. We're talking, statewide. And there were a number of initiatives across the athletic department of things that we were doing to honor Sam.
Newbie in motion. Armstrong will keep it, and he gets thumped.
The Huskers went 3-and-out on the opening series of the game, sending the punt unit out for the first time of the season. They got information a man short.
And we led at the top of our telecast. The Huskers mourning the tragic loss of punter Sam Foltz. With points towards the sky, one man short in the formation, but he will forever be in the hearts and minds of Husker fans.
The tribute makes it better, like the things the school does to remember him. And I think a lot of social media felt that way. A lot of people on social media thought, we lost a football player, yes, but we lost a great individual that was a leader for the team and a leader in the community.
The team would honor him with a resounding season-opening victory over Fresno State.
Armstrong keeps, skips to the outside. Armstrong, an alleyway for the touchdown. Tommy Armstrong from 9 yards out. First and goal for Armstrong Jr. He'll keep it around the end, spun around and down, stayed up, touchdown. Tommy Armstrong showing off his willpower. Mike Riley's troop stepping off the sideline, a convincing 43-10 win with 22 fourth quarter points.
First down for Nebraska. The ball is at the 43 after the short punt. And here goes Frazier down the line, delivers the ball to Green. Green's on the corner, going down the sidelines. He's on his way. He's got a touchdown.
When Nebraska was winning conference and national championships as a way of habit in the 1990s, the Huskers consistently showed up with their A game for the biggest games of the year, namely those against ranked opponents. From 1993 to 1999, Nebraska went an astounding 25-5 against ranked foes. However, since Big Red's fall from nationally elite status, it's in the biggest games of the year that they have experienced some of their most debilitating defeats. From 2002 to 2015, Nebraska went just 13-33 when facing a ranked opponent, losing by an average of nearly 17 points per loss. Husker fans have been searching for a sign that the team has made their way back to the top tier of college football, and they usually looked for it when facing big-name ranked opponents. Early on in the 2016 season, the Husker fans and team would get their first chance to see how they stacked up against a ranked team that counted themselves amongst the nation's elite. But first, Nebraska used a strong defensive effort to pick up a win over Wyoming. The Husker defense, nicknamed the Black Shirts, recorded 5 interceptions, including one particularly memorable one from safety Nate Gary.
Allen throws another interception. That's Gary, his 10th career pick. And he's taken down at the 39-yard line by the quarterback, Allen. We've got a late flag at the end of the play. Might be a horse collar.
Yeah, no, I think Gary handed the ball to Allen at the end. Allen took exception with it and threw it back at Gary.
As the Huskers move to 2-0 in the young season.
On to the next one.
The following week, Nebraska welcomed number 22 Oregon to Lincoln for a battle between two brand names in the football world.
Every game has its kind of own vibe to it. And yeah, pregame of Oregon definitely had a big game vibe.
The Ducks had just played for the national championship 2 years earlier, and in many respects had become more of a national brand than Nebraska, even without the storied tradition enjoyed by the Huskers. Big Red fans viewed this game as the one that could catapult them back to relevance.
Welcome to one of the great scenes in all of sports, much less college football. For the 350th consecutive game, Memorial Stadium in Lincoln is sold out.
It was the fullest I think I've ever seen Memorial Stadium. There were so many people that there were students sitting in the aisle because there just weren't any more seats.
Turning the corner and getting down the sideline. Brooks James hurdles a man. Is he in? Yes! Inside the pylon. That's a Ducks touchdown. Here comes the blitz. Armstrong beats it to Westerkamp. Breaks a tackle. That's a Husker touchdown.
Snap back to Tommy. Here comes the blitz. He throws. Pass. Call Westerkamp in the 10. He's to the 5. He's in. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Armstrong looking downfield. Ethan Carter, the tight end, boxes out the defender. That's a chunk play and a first down. The left of Armstrong in the shotgun. A backwards pass. That's a live ball. Mikael Wilbon has to get after it, can't pick it up. Instead, it's with the Ducks. Arian Springs down the sideline. What a huge play. All the way out to midfield on the turnover. And the Ducks in business with a 7-point lead.
Those are game changers. That's not holding to a field goal. That's taking the ball away. Really changes the dynamic in this building.
And they'll spread things out. No one home for Taj Griffin. Touchdown. One play after the turnover. Pearsonell get a chance at a return this time. He fields it. That'll be kick-catch interference, and he breaks a tackle. DeMornay Pearsonell. He's loose. All the way down to the 18-yard line. You are world-class if you can fight off kick-catch interference and return it into the red zone. Critical now for Tommy Armstrong. 34 seconds and one timeout to manage the clock in the field well. Armstrong to throw. Looking end zone. Climbing the ladder, making the catch, and reaching it out for the goal line is Brian Reimers. And he's got a touchdown. The walk-on sophomore ties the game. Quarterback sneak. Inside the 10. Backing his way into a 1st and goal is Tommy Armstrong.
And look at Tommy Armstrong, and he's holding the back of his leg right now. The enormous injury to Royce Freeman on the other side, knocked out of this game in the second possession. And keep an eye on that wheel of Armstrong on the QB sneak.
Is that a cramp that he's trying to stretch out?
The story of Tommy Armstrong has really been throughout his career here is just how he has continued to fight through lots of different adversity. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's fighting through various injuries throughout his career. Some known by everybody, some that maybe weren't known by everybody.
Ozigbo looks for a cutback lane and finds one, and finds the end zone. That's a Husker touchdown. The good news for Nebraska, a touchdown. The bad news, their quarterback, if that is a cramp, just crumpled to the turf, and they're trying to work it out as best they can.
We didn't have a ton of depth at his position, so there was a feeling from him, and especially from a lot of fans, that he was kind of our ride or die, that he was the guy that needed to carry the team.
Armstrong finds a way, and he can hear the faithful.
Second down and 10. Play action once again. Trying to set the screen up, and Armstrong gets to the edge, and he'll go out of bounds. And he is ridden out by Tyree Robinson. That's a loss of 3 or 4 yards, and now Armstrong is down again. First time it was a cramp. This time, not so sure. Here comes Riker Fife. Tommy Armstrong is being dragged on the bench over to the trainer's table. Tony Brooks-James into the end zone for an Oregon touchdown. And the Ducks retake the lead. What a drive. Starting at their own 3.
Typically that IV is done in the locker room. Putting the IV there into Armstrong right on the bench.
So now Tommy Armstrong will go back to work with a 4-point deficit midway through the 4th quarter. He feels like his offense has to continue this drive. That's going to give them their best chance. Armstrong on 4th down, looking at a 4-man rush. And it is a strike to Westerkamp. A 4th down conversion for the Huskers. Keeps the drive alive.
But Mike Riley's been consistent. He was aggressive in the first half, going for it on 4th down. Just enough protection for Tommy Armstrong. He loves it.
Quarterback draw. Armstrong into the secondary. Armstrong's got a step. Touchdown!
Gets the snap. Looks right. Now he's going to take off and run. Coming to the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Armstrong in there. Touchdown, Nebraska.
What a gutsy run by number 4. Anybody that doesn't think this guy is a competitor, wake up.
The senior transfer quarterback in an atmosphere unlike he has ever been in before.
Never heard the noise in my headsets like I'm hearing right now. And if we have thought it's loud, and my ears are reverberating the way they have for 59 minutes, I can't imagine.
It was probably the loudest I've personally ever heard in Memorial Stadium. I had a half-full water bottle in my hand, and I just remember screaming so loud, and everyone around me was yelling so loud that It was literally the water bottle was vibrating in my hands.
4th and 18 to try and extend the game. Nebraska brings a blitz. Prukop is brought down. Michael Rose-Ivy all but ends the game for the Huskers. Official. A field goal win for Nebraska over Oregon.
I just appreciated the attitude that we're not going to quit until the end. They had a lot to be proud of at that game, and I was proud of that too.
And the hero of the day was quarterback Tommy Armstrong, a player that has experienced a mixed bag of support and alienation by the Husker fan base during his career.
He was hurting to the point where the guys even had to carry him off the field. I mean, that was the level of pain he was kind of going through. So he was continually overcoming a lot of that, all of that sort of stuff to be the emotional core of that offense.
The Huskers had secured their statement victory over Oregon, but as Tommy Armstrong cemented his place as the emotional core of the Husker offense, the emotional core of the entire team would be put to the test just 1 week later. Following their victory over Oregon, the Huskers traveled to Chicago for their conference opener against Northwestern. It was the start of what would prove to be easily the most active, contentious, dividing, and ultimately unifying week of the season on social media. And it had nothing to do with the actual game itself, which turned out to be a rather uneventful ho-hum victory for the Big Red.
End zone touchdown, Nebraska, Ethan Carter. First down and goal. Another end around. This is Westerkamp. Westerkamp. Touchdown, Nebraska. They've been trying to get Westerkamp into the end zone in front of his home fans. And he's finally there, and he does it via the rush. Pocket holds up. It is picked off. Joshua Kalou. Impressive win for Nebraska on the road to go to 4-0.
The week-long social media debate that would take place in the wake of this game had actually started before kickoff. It's just nobody knew it yet. Before the game, 3 Husker players, led by senior linebacker Michael Rose-Ivy, kneeled during the national anthem, a show of solidarity with other athletes performing silent protests about police brutality and social injustice in America. A few media outlets captured the moment and posted the photos on social media as the game was in progress.
When I watched that happening and I heard it happening, I thought, oh boy, my heart just kind of stopped because I knew that there was going to be really negative reaction to that.
Live from Lincoln, this is Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 5.
Some believe Deshaun Muhammad and myself should be kicked out of the team or suspended, while some said we deserve to be lynched or shot just like the other black people that have died recently. Another believed that since we didn't want to stand for the anthem, then we should be hung before the anthem for the next game. These are actual statements we received from fans. I believe we are supposed to look out for one another and call the injustice in the world against the oppressed, even when you have nothing to gain and you have everything to lose. While you may disagree with the method, these reactions further underscore the need for this protest and gives us just a small glimpse into the persistent problem of racism in this country.
I think I was kind of like the majority of people at the beginning, kind of thinking, what is he doing? He's totally dishonoring, you know, the flag and the national anthem and stuff. And then, you put some more thought into it, and then you have one of your own. He's doing that for a reason. It's not just to get attention.
Conversations about police brutality and racial injustice have raged in recent years after high-profile incidents in Ferguson, Missouri, St. Paul, Minnesota, and many others. The action of taking a knee during the national anthem has proven to be a trigger for some fans. Researcher Jimmy Sanderson says these hostile outbursts on social media have a direct correlation with social identity.
Generally, you find that people who are tweeting the hateful things, you can see they're very heavily identified because they're so invested in the outcome that they have no recourse other than to hurl that kind of behavior to make themselves feel better.
I would tell those people if they want to talk like that, then please don't put on red and don't cheer for the program. And that's the nasty side of Twitter for sure, is because people can go on their keyboard and they can hide behind their computer and they can say whatever they want. And it's a different story, I guess, when it comes to face-to-face.
The firestorm even reached the Nebraska legislature as Governor Pete Ricketts denounced Rose Ivy's actions on Twitter, and Nebraska Board of Regents member Hal Dobb even called for Rose Ivy to be kicked off the team. The engagement of two high-profile members of Nebraska's governing bodies, both in and out of the university, who steadfastly stood in opposition of Rose Ivy, contributed greatly to the intense level of debate reached on social media during the course of that week. Modeled after Dr. Sanderson's study of hateful tweets sent to Alabama kicker Cade Foster after the 2013 Iron Bowl, we conducted a study of tweets sent to Michael Rose Ivy, starting in the immediate aftermath of the Northwestern game and concluding with the following Friday prior to Nebraska's next game. Rose Ivy received over 8,000 tweets over that 6-day span. A systematic random sampling of every 20th tweet left 448 tweets for analysis. From the dataset, 8 themes emerged inductively: admonishment of negativity, advocating for further action, engaging in conversation about social issues, advancing Rose Ivy's message, sticking to sports, extreme negativity and threats, respectful dissent, and support or pride. As the graph shows, the results were remarkably similar to Dr. Sanderson's study from 2013. Although the extreme negativity received much of the spotlight both in the media and by the fan base in general, the overwhelming majority of messages sent to Rose Ivy were of a supportive and prideful nature.
I ultimately provided support because I look at these players as young adults, just like every other young adult, figuring out what they're going to be in the world and who they're going to support and how their ethics are formed. And you're not just a student athlete, you're someone that's going to become a productive adult in this world, and there are people that support your ability to be an individual. I feel like I needed to support individuals that maybe think they're standing on an island. I mean, that's what I think Nebraska is about.
To Rose Ivy's credit, he did not respond to the harsh reactions in a combative way. Instead, he engaged in conversation in an attempt to advance his cause. He even connected with Governor Ricketts on Twitter, asking for a meeting to discuss why he and his teammates kneeled during the anthem.
In general, he has conducted himself very respectfully on social media. He does a very good job of engaging in conversation with guys without letting it devolve into being disrespectful. My guess is he probably went pretty well inside of himself right afterwards. And I know that a lot of it affected him in various ways, but he knew that was coming. He kind of knew what he was doing, putting himself out there. And he was willing to do that because it was something he was so passionate about. Coach Riley always preaches, and very openly, just the idea of respect. That's something that has been pretty strongly imbued into the culture. And it's something that I think resonates well with Nebraskans. Even if we disagree with their some of the finer points of their details, that we're going to be there for them because we're a family.
It was a week that showed how truly dark some people's hearts are, but it also saw a fan base come together and support one of their own in a time of need. Events like this can tear a team apart, but the mutual love and support of teammates, coaches, and fans helped bring all of Husker Nation together, just in time for one of the more exciting runs the program had seen in 15 years.
Nebraska's backed up. Oh, man, Crouch escapes. And he'll have a first down.
Wow.
Oh, man, look at this.
Jeez.
Oh, no, he could go.
Wow. Amazing.
See you later. That may be one of the most unreal runs I have ever seen.
Nebraska hadn't started a season with a 7-0 record since 2001, when quarterback Eric Crouch won the Heisman Trophy and took the Huskers to the national championship game.
He's going to throw it. He's got a man out there at the 40. It is Eric Crouch. 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Yeah!
It's also known as the season that ended the prolific Husker dynasty, as back-to-back lopsided losses to Colorado and Miami in the BCS National Championship games signaled the end of an amazing era. But with a 4-0 record and a good chance to reach 7-0 before facing the toughest part of their schedule, Husker fans allowed themselves to dream.
This is the 18th play on a drive that's taken almost 10.5 minutes. And it results in a Nebraska touchdown. We're a kick away from the Cornhuskers taking back the lead. Armstrong to the end zone. Receivers open. Touchdown, Nebraska. Trey Foster. Newby again. This pops loose. Newby's off to the races. Can they catch him? They cannot. Touchdown, Nebraska. Nebraska 5-0. We'll see if they can be 7-0 before they play Wisconsin.
This pass tipped away and caught it on the bounce on his back. Brandon Riley had two shots at it. Marcelino Bell tipped it
Off the head.
Off of Bell.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Off of his head.
Lego throws an interception right into the hands of Chris Jones. Touchdown, Nebraska. The receiver went out, the ball went in, and then the ball went into the end zone. Huge third down here. Armstrong on the run, got it! Stanley Morgan, goodbye! The safeties ran together, Crawford and Fields, and there was the right cross, followed up by a left hook. It was a struggle for Nebraska, but a well-earned victory. They go to 6-0 and preserve that top 10 ranking as they win it 27-22. He's come out to throw the first play, gets it to Markel Jones. Jones tosses it forward, and it's picked by Nebraska. Holy cow! What was he thinking? So Nebraska in tremendous shape. Armstrong, quarterback keeper, goodbye. DeMornay Pearsonell, one of the wide receivers, cleared the entire right side and he walked in. Time now really effective. 17 seconds to go. Whips it down the middle and it's picked. Intercepted by Jimmy Herman, a backup linebacker.
Yeah, he just totally missed Herman, the linebacker, backing into it. This is a mistake you don't want your senior quarterback to make.
Armstrong rifles that one. Pearsonell, touchdown. 40 yards. He beat Tim Kaysen, and the ball was right on the money from Armstrong. For Nebraska, they are in field goal territory. Off the right side goes Alonzo Moore. 24 yards for a score. And Nebraska has extended its lead to 10 points. 7-0 start. And once again, our final score, Nebraska 27, Purdue 14.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, just to see us back, like, with that kind of a ranking, wanting so bad to show up on a national stage.
I think it's pretty safe to say we haven't had that kind of energy since social media had reached what it's currently at. So it was interesting seeing how the social media echo chamber works a little bit. We had probably a better sense of where we were at internally than necessarily the outside view did. So there was a little bit of a challenge for us to utilize the height, tap into that power without getting too far ahead of ourselves. But at the same time, it was fun.
With a 7-0 record and top 10 ranking in tow, the Huskers hit the road for a pivotal game that would show whether or not dreams could become reality against the team that had been giving the Huskers nightmares for years.
The 7-0 start for Mike Riley and the Huskers. Now comes the test.
Let's go! Let's go!
Here's Shaw now inside the 10. Touchdown, Badgers.
Nice job up front blocking. And an easy touchdown for Bradrick Shaw.
So let's focus in a little bit on Tommy Armstrong.
When he sets his feet, he throws the ball extremely well, but sometimes his feet get him in trouble. That ability to extend plays and get out of the pocket and make something happen can be good, but sometimes it gets him in trouble as well.
Threw it behind and a little too high for Brandon Riley.
This was bad feet by Tommy Armstrong. There's no pressure that requires him to not be able to step into this throw.
This is Jazz Peavy, and he is sent back that time. Nathan Gary read it all the way.
A two-year co-captain and a very sure open field tackler.
Armstrong to pass on first down. Wants all of it. and that ball is intercepted by Sojourn Shelton, his second of the year. Some pressure off the edge. Armstrong, complete for a first down. Westerkamp shakes loose. Inside the 10, inside the 5. First and goal, Nebraska.
Really nice read by Tommy Armstrong. He knew pressure was coming, but he stands in there and steps into the throw, and Westerkamp turns it into a big play.
Third and goal. This time, Divine Azigbo gets in. Only the 5th rushing touchdown given up by Wisconsin this season. Armstrong, second down throw, batted and picked off Dakota Dixon. His 3rd interception of the season.
That's the 3rd deflected pass. This time it ends up in the hands of Dakota Dixon. And the 2nd interception thrown by Tommy Armstrong.
And right down the target line he goes to break our tie here. Just feels like it's going to be a tight one tonight, doesn't it? 10-7 for number 11 over number 7. Hornibrook to the goal line. Touchdown, Rob Wheelwright. The House of Pain Classic jump around awaits. But can Wisconsin inflict some pain here? No! Huskers come up big. Westerkamp keeps his footing.
What a great route by Westerkamp.
Armstrong cuts in and score it.
What an impressive drive for Nebraska's offense and quarterback Tommy Armstrong. A little bit of everything in this drive.
There's a play action opportunity for him, but it's picked off. That is Nathan Gary. And Nebraska will have the ball on the plus side. Gary comes up with his 3rd pick of the year.
Well, this is a play where Hornibrook he got locked in on Fumagalli, and he was going to throw the football to him no matter what. And Gary, the free safety, looking at the quarterback the whole way and comes up with a big interception.
Play action. Houston downfield, and that ball is intercepted by Gary again.
He's going to roll to his left and kind of throw back towards the middle of the field. Never an advisable throw to make. And Nathan Gary, the veteran 3-year starter with eyes on the quarterback, comes up with his 2nd interception of the game.
Second and 10. Slings it, gets it. Morgan, stiff arm, extra something juice. Nebraska.
Boy, another beautiful throw by Armstrong. Again, good feet, bad feet. When he sets his feet and throws on time, he can really throw the football. Perfect throw, perfect timing.
And Stanley Morgan goes for 25 yards. Here come the Huskers. He's got a great leg, and he's had an awesome career. 35-yarder to tie it. How about it, folks? 17-17.
Shake hands, captains. Congratulations to both teams on a well-played football game. We're going to have another coin toss right now. Just as at the start of the game, we're using the ceremonial coin. Mike Sadler on one side, Sam Foltz on the other side. Nebraska, it's your call. Fultz is called. It is Fultz. You've won the toss. You want to go on defense first? Okay. It will be 1st and 10 for Wisconsin. Shake hands, gentlemen. Good luck.
How about Gerald Fultz and hearing that in front of this crowd of over 80,000? A great legacy of memorializing Sam Fultz here tonight. And he gives it to Agumbawale, who cuts in to the outside and scores it. Huge night for Dare Agumbawale. Oh! Endicott missed the extra point. So now an open door for Nebraska.
Wisconsin was a tough one, but we played well, and you know I've grown to take that as a win, playing your butts off and doing the best you can. And I mean, if it comes down to the end and you lose, and accepting it, moving forward. But I mean, being 7-0 was, I'd say, a huge selling point and a huge victory for Riley and the staff.
I think Nebraska fans in a whole are pretty savvy. Nebraska fans get the game pretty well. At the end of the day, they want to be competitive. They want to see guys that go out, work hard, and are doing the best they can. Having seen that at Wisconsin, I think guys were very, very supportive.
Another undefeated has lost today. Nebraska comes to Madison in a thriller in overtime. Wisconsin takes it 23-17.
Nebraska would fall only 2 spots in the polls after losing to the Badgers, meaning their goals of a conference championship and even national championship were still very much alive. But an even more daunting task stood in front of them, a trip to the Horseshoe to face another team with championship aspirations, the Ohio State Buckeyes. They would come back to Lincoln with bigger concerns than a football game.
Ohio State was out to prove that they were in national title contention. That was their goal. So there was a lot of hype coming into that game. Anytime you have a game like that, you're going to get national eyeballs.
Armstrong takes a look, takes off, and gets around the edge, gets a first down at the 25-yard line. So one of the scrambles, and Armstrong's down after getting knocked down by Hooker.
Oh, boy.
Wow, he is not moving there.
Must have been when he got hit, didn't have a chance because the way he was holding the ball to brace himself. Looks like his head may have hit the ground.
Just an awful scene, and he is still laying motionless.
It was really scary just seeing that. I mean, I think that everyone, not only Nebraska fans, but Ohio State fans, were kind of taken back by that because he was laying there motionless. And anytime something like that happens, I mean, it's just, you know, everyone's kind of brought back to reality.
Be right here, folks. Right here, folks.
After a few minutes pass, and if the guy's not getting up, then everybody realizes it's serious. In that moment, football got taken out of it, right? And it became the secondary aspect of what was really going on.
Nice show of support from the Ohio State fans. Clapping and
chanting
saying Tommy.
He's just giving his thumbs up to the crowd.
It's a relief to see that, isn't it? There's a neck brace.
These players looking at this card as it pulls their guy away, their leader.
This is encouraging. It is a motorcade. They're bringing Tommy Armstrong back to the stadium, and his teammates will certainly be relieved to hear that. Oh, this is just wonderful.
That's great.
A live picture of Tommy Armstrong walking back into Ohio Stadium. Look, his fiance there, a quick hug.
Wow.
He's got the scrubs on, but that is wonderful news.
Hoping for good news tomorrow. Husker Nation is behind you. Your work ethic and passion to win for your team doesn't go unnoticed. I just really wanted to reach out to him and let him know that we're behind him because, I mean, he's been criticized a lot, but without him, I don't really know where we would have been. I don't think we would have won the amount of games that we won last year, and that's for sure.
I'm proud that football brings people together, and I'm proud of the fact that people realize after all that we're all just human, and it was good. I felt good about that.
There was definitely a difference in the social conversation following that game because I think we tapped into a national feeling about being bigger than football.
The final score was an afterthought for both fan bases. The only thing that really mattered was Tommy Armstrong did not have any serious brain injury and would even return to the field the following week. The Ohio State game once again showed Husker fans, and really all college football fans, uniting as one during a moment that transcends the game. Unfortunately, unity and goodwill only last so long in the world of high-stakes college football.
Huskers now visible to the crowd here as they come out from underneath the tunnel. Number 4, Tommy Armstrong, right at the head of the pack, like he has been every game this year. And back from his hit last week, and here come the Huskers.
Nebraska returned to Memorial Stadium for back-to-back home games against Minnesota and Maryland, still holding on to an outside shot at competing for the conference championship. The Huskers made sure to keep that dream alive.
Takes the screen. Newby's got it and room to run. Newby breaking a tackle. Still going. Newby all the way for the touchdown. And Armstrong on the keep. And Armstrong for the touchdown.
He came up holding. Now it looked like he's holding his hamstring. Or that ankle. Well, I'll tell you what, while he was carrying it, he was moving it pretty good. He crossed the goal line.
And now he's being carried by his offensive line to the sideline. Boy, is that kid battle.
Left side, standing up, reaching out, and Terrell Newby is in for his 9th rushing touchdown of the year and the day's opening score. Fife can move it. He's just got one man to beat to the outside, and he takes it all the way down to the 5-yard line. Luke McNitt at fullback. Newby trying to find the edge and hit from behind. His momentum carries him in for his 2nd touchdown of the first quarter. Second and goal from the 4. Fife under pressure. Westerkamp hangs on. Touchdown, Jordan Westerkamp.
Nebraska entered the final regular season game needing a win and Wisconsin loss against Minnesota to take the division crown and head to the Big Ten championship game. As if that wasn't motivation enough, the Huskers faced border rival Iowa in their annual day after Thanksgiving Heroes game. Nebraska didn't join the Big Ten until 2011, but in 5 short years, the Huskers and Hawkeyes had developed a heated rivalry on the field and on social media between fan bases.
Those rivalry games, you definitely see the spike because that emotion, you want to be seen as better than those other people. And so that drives your behavior. And so if you lose, then you're not seen as better than the other people. So how do you then manage that to still maintain your identity?
I know Husker fans want to see us play well against Iowa, and that's a game that they want to win. There's some pride factor to that.
Freaking beat Iowa. I'm so sick of that.
Only 350 miles or so between the two campuses, so that's rivalry growing. The Nebraska officials tell us that Armstrong will start today, but he's got a questionable hamstring. What's that mean for the Huskers?
We're going to find out, because his weapon, his elusiveness, his ability to create after the snap is what makes this offense very potent.
Talked to Mike Riley just a bit ago. He said he talked to Armstrong this morning to see if he was ready to go. He said he is. They're just not sure what full speed will mean for Armstrong today.
Naperville, Illinois.
So here's Tommy Armstrong, that left hamstring, and the Husker offense. Let's see what they can do. Armstrong throws. Has his tight end, Stephen Carter, and they'll move the chains for the Huskers. Bodies coming in, gets it away, missed Stanley Morgan, and it's incomplete, 4th down.
That was a pretty good throw. I think Stanley Morgan wasn't anticipating it coming that quickly, and I think they're having a conversation right now.
Nice shift in the hole. Got open field ahead. Akram Wadley streaking to the end zone for an Iowa touchdown. As the Hawkeye offense starts from their own 23. C.J. Beathard to throw. Wide open receiver. McCarron's got it. Foot race down the far side. Another long Iowa touchdown. So 3rd down and 4 is for Nebraska. Another deep ball. Just out of the reach of Brandon Riley, and it's incomplete, and it's 4th down.
And I thought they had Ethan Carter right down the seam for an easy game, but they instead of trying to throw underneath and just get the 1st down.
Daniels into open field. Foot race toward the pylon. He'll be dropped, but inside the 10 at the 7-yard line, LaShawn Daniels. Daniels, touchdown Iowa. So 3rd down and long. Gonna go long. Got Riley with a step, but threw it too long and incomplete. And it's 4th down.
Riley had a step. That ball was just overthrown. Both coaches point to this as a turning point in the game, the first possession of the 3rd quarter.
Armstrong going long. Morgan gets behind 2 defenders, but got slowed up just enough getting through him that the quarterback and he couldn't connect.
This ball just overthrown. That's been something today, just slightly overthrown every time.
Beathard throws to the fullback. Touchdown, Iowa. That was George Kittle, the tight end who got it.
Going for it on 4th down now. Obviously, huge play in the game for both teams.
Pressure. Touchdown, Nebraska. Morgan brings it in.
They might be starting their 4th quarter magic just a little bit early, and they probably need to.
Knocked down. Incomplete, and it's 4th down. Armstrong throws, knocked down. Josie Jewell read it again. Deep again, receiver's got a step, but the ball is about 4 yards too far, and incomplete, and it's 4th down.
Once again, Carter, their tight end, was wide open down the seam. Tommy is sort of deciding before the play's even going who he's going to try to throw to.
I wasn't even really mad at that one, just because of their lack of more or less showing up for the game. That was a letdown.
All of that positivity built up toward the Huskers, and especially quarterback Tommy Armstrong, was lost in one very bad afternoon on the gridiron.
Fans are very fickle. Most fans, it's that ebb and flow of, we love you, now we hate you, we love you, we hate you. We experience the emotion, we act on the emotion, and for a lot of us, we don't question that until we've done it. And I think with athletes and fans, that underpins a lot of this behavior, because people are they're just typing stuff out based on an emotional reaction.
When you start talking about fan sentiment, everything's a pendulum. And those first 7 games, that pendulum had gotten pulled back quite a bit. And there was a lot of kinetic energy built up in that. When things didn't go as well in the second half of the season, that kinetic energy needs to get expelled somehow. And I think that's what you end up seeing on social media, is people are taking all of that frustration they feel because they had gotten so much excitement built up early in the season. And that's the pressure release for them. That's how they release the valve.
Nebraska would conclude their season with a 38-24 loss to Tennessee in the Music City Bowl. Quarterback Tommy Armstrong finished his career on the sideline with a leg injury, and the Huskers put up a strong effort against a team with superior talent, but would ultimately fall just short of the prize. In many ways, their final game and the entire season was a reflection of what the program has been for both the players and fans for over 15 years, overflowing with passion and effort, but still falling short of expectations. But no matter how long it takes for Nebraska to become what they want to be and used to be, the players and fans will never quit the fight to get there. It's a loyalty that is matched by a scant few in the world of college football. Or, as they say on Twitter, #GBRAlways.